When problems enter our lives, they often do more than disrupt our external world. They invade our inner sanctuary. At first, it may seem like a momentary wave, the stress of a job loss, the end of a relationship, a sudden illness, or simply the exhaustion from trying to keep everything together. But over time, these events don't just weigh on our shoulders. They fog our mind, stir our emotions, and dim the light within us. This is the nature of inner darkness. It rarely arrives in dramatic form. More often, it creeps in quietly, in sleepless nights, in the moments we stare blankly at a screen, in the heaviness that clings to the chest without explanation. We might not even notice when it starts. One day, we simply feel off, distant, unsure of ourselves, and soon our thoughts follow. I'm not doing enough. Something is wrong with me. I'll never get through this. Take, for example, a young professional in New York. Let's call her Sarah. On paper, she's successful, a good job, a vibrant social life, a tidy apartment in the city. But behind her smile, she battles a constant fear of not measuring up. Every missed deadline feels like a personal failure. Every social media post from a more put-together friend chips away at her self-worth. Slowly, her inner dialogue shifts. She begins to identify not with her potential, but with her perceived inadequacies. This is the subtle power of darkness. It doesn't just make life harder, it alters how we see ourselves. It casts a shadow over our identity. And if we're not mindful, we begin to believe that the shadow is the truth. In Western culture, this inner fog often goes unspoken. There's a strong cultural emphasis on individualism and achievement, which can inadvertently silence our need to process pain. We are taught to stay strong, keep going, and focus on the positive. While these messages can be motivating, they can also dismiss the very real need to feel and heal. Another example. Consider David, a middle-aged father in a suburban neighborhood. He's doing everything he believes he should, providing for his family, volunteering at his church, keeping a brave face. But inside, he's unraveling. The pressures of work and family, the loneliness of keeping his struggles hidden, have begun to wear him down. Yet he tells no one. Why? Because in his mind, asking for help equals weakness. And so he walks alone with his darkness, thinking no one else could possibly understand. Darkness isolates. It whispers lies in our minds that we're broken, unworthy, or too far gone. And the more we believe those lies, the harder it is to find our way back to peace. But here's the truth. Darkness is not the enemy. It's a signal, a messenger. It tells us where we are hurting, where we need light. Just as physical pain alerts us to a wound, emotional darkness alerts us to a deeper disconnection, often from ourselves. Darkness, by its very nature, has no substance of its own. It isn't a thing. It is the absence of something, light. And this single truth holds profound meaning when it comes to the inner world. We spend so much time resisting the darkness, trying to fix it, fight it, or run from it, that we often forget a quieter, more powerful truth. We don't need to battle darkness. We only need to bring the light. Light, in the context of inner transformation, is not just positivity. It is awareness. It is presence. It is truth. And above all, it is love. It is the voice within that gently says, I see you, even in this. It's the clarity that returns when we pause, breathe, and remember who we are beneath the noise. Let's take an example many in Western culture will recognize. Someone sitting alone at home, scrolling through social media. Perhaps they see pictures of friends traveling, buying homes, starting families. Meanwhile, they feel stuck. The inner dialogue begins. I'm falling behind. Everyone else is doing better. Something must be wrong with me. This cascade of comparison is a form of darkness. It narrows perspective. It separates. It fuels shame. But what if, in that exact moment, the person brought light? Not through forced positivity, but through truth, a quiet, honest thought. This is a hard moment, and I'm still worthy. Or, I don't have to be where they are. My path is unfolding. That one inner beam of truth can change the entire emotional landscape. Just like a single candle can soften the darkness in a room, a single thought rooted in love can disrupt the hold of fear or shame. In Western psychology, this mirrors the idea of cognitive reappraisal, the act of changing our interpretation of a situation to reduce its emotional impact. But when practiced with inner awareness, it becomes more than a technique. It becomes a spiritual act, an intentional return to our center, where love and clarity reside. Another example, imagine a parent overwhelmed by the chaos of raising young children. After a long day of tantrums, messes, and unanswered emails, they collapse on the couch feeling like a failure. The darkness of guilt and inadequacy creeps in. But light, again, can shift the entire frame. A breath, a soft reminder, I am doing my best, and that is enough. The problems don't vanish, but the parent's heart opens. Peace returns. Bringing the light isn't about denying reality. It's about illuminating it. It's choosing to meet life from a place of stability and compassion rather than fear and judgment. One of the greatest Western metaphors for this is the idea of being the lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't chase storms. It doesn't control the sea. It simply stands in its place and shines. It offers guidance through its stillness. We, too, can become that kind of presence for ourselves and others when we learn to bring the light within. So what does that mean, practically? It means cultivating simple practices that reconnect us to light. Mindful breathing when emotions rise, speaking to ourselves with kindness as we would to a dear friend, noticing our thoughts and gently questioning the ones that cause suffering, holding space for our pain without judgment, remembering our worth even when we feel broken. These small, steady gestures are acts of light. They don't need to be dramatic. They just need to be sincere. Because here's the secret. The darkness in our minds, fear, guilt, shame, is only ever convincing when we forget the light we hold. But when we remember, even briefly, who we truly are, the shadows lose their grip. That's not just poetic. It's deeply practical. It means the way out of pain is not always to solve or escape it, but to bring a different presence to it, one that is rooted in light. And the more we practice this, the more we realize something remarkable. The light doesn't just dispel darkness, it makes us stronger, clearer, and more compassionate. It doesn't just help us survive the hard moments, it teaches us how to meet them with grace. In the end, the most transformative inner growth doesn't come from eradicating darkness. It comes from learning how to carry the light. Bringing the light into your life doesn't mean pretending that pain isn't real. It doesn't mean putting on a brave face when your heart is aching or forcing yourself to smile through genuine suffering. Bringing the light means making a conscious decision, even in the darkest moment, to return to something deeper than the fear, the chaos, or the judgment. It means choosing clarity over confusion, faith over fear, inner stability over outer noise. But how exactly do we do that, especially when the weight of life feels overwhelming? Let's walk through it with care. Step 1. Pause and breathe. When we are caught in emotional reactivity, the first thing to go is awareness. The mind spins, the heart races, our nervous system shifts into survival mode. In this state, trying to solve anything only adds to the confusion. That's why the first step in bringing the light is simple, but essential. Pause. Take a moment to stop whatever you're doing. Close your eyes if you can. Bring your attention to your breath, not to control it, but to witness it. Inhale slowly, exhale fully. Just 3 conscious breaths can interrupt the automatic storm of thought. This is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In Western culture, where productivity often trumps presence, learning to pause is revolutionary. It gives you back your power to choose the next step instead of reacting from fear or conditioning. Step 2. Identify the dark thought. Once the nervous system settles, clarity begins to return. Now turn inward and listen. What am I really telling myself right now? The dark thought is usually subtle, but powerful. It might sound like, I can't handle this. I'm a failure. They don't care about me. Nothing will ever change. This thought is often beneath the surface, running the emotional show without being questioned. By naming it, you reclaim your role as observer rather than victim of the thought. Think of this like turning on the light in a room you've been stumbling through. You don't have to judge the thought. Just see it for what it is. A cloud, not the sky. Step 3. Choose a new, luminous thought. This is where transformation happens. You don't fight the dark thought. You replace it with something rooted in truth and compassion. A luminous thought doesn't mean lying to yourself or sugarcoating reality. It means speaking to yourself with the wisdom of someone who deeply cares. Let's say the dark thought is, I'm not enough. A luminous thought might be, I am enough, even as I grow. I'm allowed to be learning. This moment doesn't define my worth. If the dark thought is, everything is falling apart, a luminous one might be, I don't have to figure everything out right now. Even in uncertainty, I can find one steady step. I can breathe, and that is enough for today. In Western psychology, this echoes the shift from automatic negative thoughts to grounded self-talk. But it goes deeper. It becomes a moment of self-realignment. You choose the energy you bring to life, one thought at a time. Step 4. Anchor in presence. The final and often most overlooked step is anchoring. Even after choosing a luminous thought, the emotional residue of fear or doubt may linger. So you need something to hold on to, something to bring your attention back into the now. In Western life, presence often gets buried under constant stimulation and mental noise. But presence is not mystical, it's profoundly practical. You can anchor in many ways. Your breath. Continue breathing slowly and intentionally. Nature. Step outside. Feel the sun on your skin. Listen to birds. Look at the sky. Spiritual practice. Say a prayer. Light a candle. Repeat a grounding affirmation. Movement. Take a walk. Stretch your body. Feel your feet on the ground. Touch. Hold your own hand. Place your palm on your heart. Offer yourself comfort. Each of these is a way of saying, I am here, I am present, I am safe enough to bring light into this moment. There is a moment on every inner journey when something shifts, not outside, but within. You stop looking for the rescue. You stop waiting for someone or something to fix what hurts. And instead, you remember, the light you've been searching for has always been inside you. This is the truth most of us forget, especially in Western culture, where we're conditioned to believe worth must be earned. That light must come from achievement, status, approval, or the next milestone. From an early age, we're praised for doing, winning, producing. And while none of those are inherently bad, they can make us forget that who we are, beneath all the doing, is already radiant. Becoming the light isn't about becoming perfect. It's not about never feeling lost again. It's about remembering again and again that you are the source of your own renewal. That every moment you meet fear with presence, every time you respond to pain with compassion, every time you choose a loving thought over a fearful one, you become the light. Take a simple example. James, a college student in Boston, feels anxious before a big exam. His chest is tight, his thoughts spiral into worst-case scenarios. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? In that moment, he has a choice. He could feed the fear, or he could pause, breathe, and remind himself, I've prepared. I've done my best. This doesn't define me. That shift may seem small, but it's profound. It reclaims power from fear and places it back in his own hands. That is becoming the light. Or consider Rachel, a mother of 3 in Denver. After a long day of work and parenting, she feels depleted, invisible, exhausted. The temptation to numb out with television or social media is strong, but instead she lights a candle, sits in silence, and whispers to herself, "I see you. I love you. You matter." That moment of tenderness, directed inward, is what makes her not just a caregiver to others, but a guardian of her own soul. These acts of light don't have to be loud or dramatic. In fact, the quiet ones often hold the most power. Why? Because they remind us that we are not waiting to be saved. We are remembering that we are already whole. In spiritual traditions and psychology alike, this principle appears in many forms. In Christianity, it's the belief that the kingdom of God is within. In Buddhism, it's the idea that enlightenment isn't acquired, it's uncovered. In modern mindfulness, it's the awareness that we are not our thoughts. We are the space that holds them. What all of these teachings point to is this: the light isn't outside of you. You are the light. And each time you return to that truth, something shifts, not only in you, but in the world around you. Because light is contagious. When you choose to be kind in the face of judgment, patient in the face of frustration, generous when it's hard, you influence everyone around you. Think of someone you know who radiates calm. Maybe it's a teacher, a grandparent, or even a coworker. They aren't perfect, but something about them feels grounding. Just being in their presence reminds you to breathe. That's the light in action. You don't have to be famous, wealthy, or extraordinary to have that kind of impact. You just have to be real, intentional, willing to show up with presence and care. The beautiful paradox of becoming the light is this: the more you shine for yourself, the more you naturally shine for others. Not because you're trying to fix them, but because your peace becomes an invitation. Your clarity becomes a mirror. Your love becomes a reminder of what's possible. So let this be your reminder. You don't have to wait for life to be perfect to shine. You don't have to feel strong all the time to be a source of strength. Every choice to return to love, especially when it's hard, is a victory over darkness. And over time, those choices accumulate. The light grows, the shadows recede, and one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive the dark. You became the light that helped others find their way through it, too. So, the next time life sends something heavy your way, a disappointment, a hard conversation, a wave of anxiety, you don't have to know exactly how to fix it. You don't even have to feel ready. All you need is a moment, a breath, a pause long enough to ask the most powerful question of all. What light can I bring here? That question, though simple, can be a turning point, because it shifts your attention from helplessness to intention, from being swept away by life to meeting it from the strength of your inner truth. Think of this question like a compass. In Western culture, we're often taught to immediately solve problems, to act quickly, to push through. While that drive can be useful, it can also leave us disconnected from what matters most: presence. Slowing down to ask what kind of energy we want to bring into the moment is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's emotional intelligence in action. Let's imagine a real-world example. Ethan, a marketing executive in San Francisco, walks into a meeting after a tense phone call with his teenage son. His emotions are raw. He feels angry, worried, and distracted. Without awareness, those feelings could spill into the meeting, snapping at a coworker, misreading a tone, misjudging a decision. But instead, Ethan pauses. He touches the table, breathes, and silently asks, "What light can I bring here?" The answer isn't dramatic, it's just clarity. He grounds himself, remembers that his team isn't the problem, and so he speaks with more patience, listens with more care. That one question doesn't just change the meeting, it preserves his integrity, his presence. Or consider Maria, a high school teacher in Toronto, facing burnout. It's Friday afternoon. The students are restless. She's exhausted. She wants to snap, but she steps outside for 60 seconds, places her hand on her heart, and whispers, "What light can I bring into this classroom just for this last hour?" The answer comes, grace. And so she returns, not energized, but softened. That softening becomes a balm not just for her, but for every student who feels the ripple of her gentleness. These moments might seem small, but they're everything. They're where we rewire our relationship to stress, to emotion, to life itself. Because this practice is not about ignoring difficulty, it's about choosing your response to it. You don't bring the light to erase the dark. You bring it to meet the dark with dignity. And here's the beautiful truth. When you do this consistently, you don't just transform your own experience. You start to radiate something others can feel. Your calm becomes contagious. Your compassion becomes a refuge. Your light becomes a guidepost. Not because you're trying to lead, but simply because you've learned how to stay centered when others forget how. This is the quiet revolution of inner growth. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to convince anyone. It simply lives in the body, in the breath, in the everyday choices to respond instead of react. So, if this message touched something in you, if it reminded you of your own light, don't let it stop here. Carry it forward. And if someone you care about is walking through darkness, share it with them. Not to fix them, but to say, "You're not alone, and the light is still here." You never know whose life will change because you remembered yours.